This lecture is about persuasive speeches and what you can do to make yourself a more persuasive speaker. Persuasive speaking's goal is to change a person's attitudes or beliefs about something. You want to influence their values, and you want to call them to action. You really have to motivate people in order to get them to do what you want them to do. So you need to use information from your audience analysis. Know the audience that you're talking to. What makes them tick? What do they like? What do they believe? And then you need to gear your message toward that to make them do what you want them to do. And in order to do that, you have to show that there's going to be a benefit to the audience. They won't be interested in anything you have to say if it doesn't benefit them. So let them know how what you're proposing has advantages for them. Also, you must establish your credibility. If they don't trust you, they won't follow you. Doesn't matter how persuasive you may be, if they don't believe in what you're saying, your speech will be for naught. So keep that in mind. You have to be credible with your audience. Also, set some goals for yourself. They don't have to be huge goals, but you do need to set some type of goals that appeal to what is going to motivate your audience, what's going to make them want to change. And you have to realize that change arises from what they need. Persuasive appeals happen through three different ways. One of three ways, actually. One is ethos, another is pathos, and the final is logos. Ethos appeals to a speaker's credibility. If that speaker is trustworthy, do we believe what you have to say? The audience has to see that speaker is credible in order to trust them or to be receptive to what they have to say. Pathos is more emotional. There's a use of vivid imagery and compelling stories that will make your listener want to do what you want them to do. You have to be repetitive. The more that they hear it, the more it goes into their mind and it appeals to their emotion. So it deals with emotional appeal more than sound reasoning, okay? In order to be a really good speaker, you can combine ethos and logos to be the most effective speaker possible. Logos appeals to reason. It's a critical approach when you're asking the listeners to do whatever you want them to do, to reach certain conclusions based on reasoning, not on emotion or passion. It's critical thinking, reasoning, rationale, in order for them to take a specific action. Now we'll talk about argument elements. Argument elements are based on a claim or a proposition that you may have for your audience. It's based on evidence, so you need to have statistics, you need to have facts, you need to have evidence that substantiate whatever your claim is. And you need to have a warrant that provides rational reasons why your evidence is valid. Again, your audience must trust you in order for this to work. In order to identify the nature of your claims, there are three things that you have to do. First, the claim of fact. That is a statement that something is true or something will happen because of something else. Claim of value. This is really specific to how a person believes or their values, their ethics, how they feel about judging different things. Or a claim of policy. And this is where you want your audience to have a specific course of action. It is basically a call to action for your audience. Your evidence can be external, where you have examples that you provide for the audience. You can have narratives if you have wonderful stories that you'd like to share. If you have personal testimony, that you can talk about something because you've experienced it. Facts and statistics as well. Make sure that they are accurate because your audience can always go back and check and make sure that your claim is valid. Also, you will want to kind of play on your audience's pre-existing opinions. We all have biases. We all have things that we like, things that we don't like. You want to appeal to your audiences what they like, their attitudes, their beliefs, their values. That's what you will want to cater to when you're trying to make your persuasive appeal. And then finally, speaker expertise. You will always want to reaffirm that you know what you're talking about in addition to other evidence that you provide for your audience as well. Finally, there are 3 different types of warrants. The first is motivational, that's based on pathos, and it's where you appeal to an audience's needs and emotions. What do they want? Let them know that you can give them what they want if they do what you want them to do. The next is authoritative, and that's based on ethos, and that appeals to a source's credibility. In other words, I can trust you, you're reputable, you're legitimate, you know what you're talking about. And then the final is substantive, and that is where you use facts and statistics to justify your argument. That is based on logos. There are 2 types, warrant by cause and warrant by analogy. If you have a warrant by cause, this is a call to action. You want them to do something. There is a cause, there is a reason that you want them to do something. And then warrant by analogy is when you compare things. You should do this because of that. So when you make your comparison for your audience, make sure that it is one that is powerful and one that it will resonate with them in order for them to do what you want. All of these things that we talked about in this particular lecture will make you a more persuasive speaker.